Yes, I know I'm live. I know, it's telling me to remind me to do it. Well, they'll live. Anyway, let's make sure everybody can hear me. I suspect it's not really an issue, but still, I'll wait until I hear for myself. Anyway, everyone's okay. So I'm gonna give it a little bit of time, see if anybody pops in my channel. Oh, it says one person's watching. Okay, good. I missed one. Here we go. Okay. So, not sure if you guys know. I don't have it set where you guys can actually. It's outside. I was like, what is that noise? So, for the one person that's watching, there's two giveaways actually. So, oh god, did I just release an email to myself that I shouldn't have? Okay, good. Did not let me. Thank you. Okay, you're gonna recommend use a bitrate of 4500. Yet, it was crashing when I tried to use something different. So, video no, we're 4500. Okay, that's what you're going to recommend. That is going to be what I will do. Okay, it's coming down here. So that's what I'm going to call it. I'll see if I can get a couple more people watching, maybe. Okay, yeah, so you guys can see that. Good. So it looks like everything is actually good to go. I might actually log on and do some stuff while we wait. But yeah, I'm pretty glad I could do this giveaway. The SSD got a bit more. Of course, I kind of like spent like $10 in advertising it essentially. Sorry, I did air quotes there. But there's two reasons why. Let me do gaming. Gaming. Okay, we're gonna call this giveaway. So I'll make this into a full stream. But yeah, I'm not here on camera today. There's good reason. Room's fine actually. There's no issues with that. I look relatively fine too. I actually haven't changed out of work clothes. But life's been a little bit hectic. Going back probably, I don't know, last couple months. Wait, did I? I didn't get credit for that, did I? No, I did. Okay. Um, so yeah, life's just unfortunately been very hectic, and I had to pull back in one area. So obviously, I couldn't stop working. I couldn't stop, you know, family and close friends and in school. I couldn't pull back in any of that. So I had to choose one, and the one thing was YouTube. And it's not something that I necessarily wanted to do by choice, but unfortunately, when life decides to be difficult and do things that are not favorable, and you have to make those hard decisions on what you need to scale back in order to, you know, make sure that your life can continue to function one another. You know, you got to choose the path of least resistance, the area that's not going to have the least amount of impact. So, local impact. So the downside is doing this has impacted you guys, right? I mean, I don't think anybody here is heartbroken by the fact that I went from uploading every 2 days to not uploading over the course of like, I think I did like 3 videos over the course of like a month and a half, right? So that wasn't my intention, but you know, you guys, a lot of you guys have subscribed to me, and you know, definitely very grateful for you guys subscribing to me. But the other thing I look at is the fact that you guys have other good YouTubers you guys watching, keep you guys busy, and deliver really good content, way better than what I could ever hope to do so. Um, so I take a little bit of solace in that as well. What's this quest for? Missing hand right now. I'm not interested. So yeah, it's been a busy last 2 months. So I'm gonna take everybody down memory lane. December 19th, 2012 was day that it was a hard day. And obviously there's a good reason why I remember that day. So my mom over the summertime, she was diagnosed with breast cancer, and things escalated, and they said, you know, you're going to need radiation, you need chemotherapy, and she did it all, and she got through it. And the problem was that during this exact same time, she was just getting very sick. And they just kept thinking, well, you know, we have no history on my mom, and that chemo's tough, right? Chemo and radiation can make you very sick. So they felt that was the case. The problem was when it stopped, and she was still not doing well. They were a little bit concerned, and unfortunately the symptoms pointed to something else. So they did a colonoscopy on the 17th of December, and they had found out, or they did a scan, and they said, we think you have bowel cancer as well. Let's do a colonoscopy to see, essentially, you know, how bad is it, right? And on the 19th that happened, and what ended up happening was, now I'm going to briefly explain what this means, but she had stage 4 colon cancer. So the problem is the stages aren't a very interesting concept, as I've found out over time. Stage 4 simply means it's protruded the bowel area. Okay, that's actually all that means. So the cancer was on the outside of the colon at that point, the small and large intestine. So normally, somebody with that late stage of cancer lasts somewhere in the ballpark of 6 months on the bad end, but optimistically you can make it about 2 years. There have been some people who have made it a little bit longer, in the ballpark of 4 to 5 years, but very few and far between. And I believe at the time, the current time frame was about 5 years and 5 or 6 months. So it was pretty not good news. So that was then. So fast forward, so August 31st, I just returned home from Germany from work, and it was like 2 days later. My mom was going for for surgery. It was to remove the mass and, you know, just continue more treatment. She had made it, at this point, almost 6 years. She was now the longest documented person with small cell colon cancer after being diagnosed at what we consider stage 4 in medical history. And we had also found out recently that the treatments they used on her, they've actually started using on other people, because it will have way higher success than anything else they've done. So everything's going good, and want to talk about really serious and unfortunate events. My wife's grandmother passed away that same day. We had got not very good news. My mom's, um, I don't want to say the outcome. I'm not sure if that's right. Let me see here. Neither one of these looks good. Okay, whatever. I'll do that. It had. Um, Sorry, I'm losing my train of thought here. They couldn't get to it. It basically, the tumor was calcified in scar tissue, so the scar tissue basically hardened around it, and they couldn't get to it. But they said, I think we can radiate it. They've never used radiation for a colon cancer because where it's at, and they really can't effectively do it. But they had removed so much of her GI tract, they went ahead and we would radiate it, and they did a pretty good number on it. But what they also did was they also took a piece of her bladder, and that's kind of what set her back a little bit. So um, she had kidney drains and all sorts of stuff. Um, and the idea was that the bladder probably wasn't going to heal on its own. So they had an idea of using a permanent drain, and what that permanent drain would be used for is obviously any liquid. So obviously she has a colostomy bag. I'm not sure if I told you guys that. That happened like a year and a half, 2 years ago, and now she has a kidney drain. But the other thing we were up against was her body could not process food and nutrition very well. Basically, her colon and GI tract was so short that what ended up happening was the food just basically went all the way through very quickly. So she had to also get something called TPM. So that would be let me think for a second. Um, Kind of like nutrients and stuff like that. So she didn't have to eat. She got all nutrients. She would gain weight. Everything's good. So that all happened on that day. So that was a really rough day. My wife's grandmother passed away, who she was close to for many years, but was forced to be estranged from due to family issues and just not a good situation. So, but then they come up with this idea in December, my family, and said, let's put in a permanent drain because the bladder's not going to heal, and we're starting to see cancer pop up in December. So me and my wife went on our honeymoon. My parents watched our dog, Gino, and as soon as I came back, they're like, okay, let's go ahead and do this. So it's outpatient surgery, real easy. The unfortunate part was that everything went bad. She had blood infection, pneumonia, flu, pneumonia. Over the course of 4 months, her muscle mass had deteriorated to the point where she couldn't stand anymore. And the weird thing was while she was in the hospital for a long period of time, my dad was making her do laps, but the pneumonia brought her down, and she started struggling. And when she was in bed for weeks or days at a time, is when the muscle mass just went. So the general idea was in the early parts of March, she was going to be released to rehab, right, to get her strength back because they're up against time. She had to start chemo soon. She had to be able to walk in there on her own before they would start chemo. And the chemo was going to knock the cancer down again for probably another 6 to 8 months, right? Everything good. But after that decision was made, within 72 hours, her body decided to quickly deteriorate at a very rapid pace, mentally and physically. And she couldn't even stand up anymore. So the decision, unfortunately, at that point was made to release her directly to home hospice. That was on March 14th of this year. So that's what we did, and the idea was me and my dad worked with her to try to get her strength back, but we had quickly found out that her deterioration was so bad that she couldn't even hold herself up without us. Her upper body was fine, was her lower body was the problem. On March 21st, she became unresponsive, and officially 11:53 p.m. March 23rd, 7 minutes from our brother's 1-year anniversary, my mom passed away. So that dealing with all that is why I kind of been away from YouTube. I have videos actually shot and recorded, and I have some more videos coming up, so I do plan on getting back to that. But that's essentially it. Now, you're probably asking, like, obviously this has been a week and a half. I mean, obviously it's not anything I'm particularly excited about, obviously. I love my mom, and I took her to a lot of chemo treatments, and I was what she called her chemo buddy, and I spent a lot of time helping her. I had Luxury because I still worked at home, or lived at home while I worked at Verizon. So, and you know, I have a lot of things to say about Verizon I don't agree with. One thing I do agree with was they enabled me to take my mom out of those chemo treatments without any problems. It was literally, hey, I need 6 of the next 12 Tuesdays as one of my days off. It was like, cool, put it in, we'll make sure it happens. It was never a problem. You know, Verizon's a big company, don't get me wrong, and they've made a lot of decisions that have impacted people financially and really bad decisions. Don't get me wrong about that, but being a large corporation, it is what it is, and that's why I left, right? I don't want to fault Verizon. Verizon's going to make decisions based on their best interest. I don't want to say not mine, but essentially not mine, but they enabled that. So, you know, it is sad, but this is what I looked at. So we spent a lot of time with my mom the last 10 days she was alive, right? Um, and most of those days were pretty good. We spent a lot of time. It was very exhausting, unfortunately. I took a fair bit of time off work here and there, and I was there for anywhere from 9 to 8 hours to 15 hours, trying to help my dad. My dad was sick during most of it. He's still sick. I think my dad's suffering from a form of PTSD. And yeah, so after the dust settles, you know, just to explain, my mom went through 6 or 7 major surgeries. Um, Probably, I'm going to eyeball it here and say 300, 400 injections of chemotherapy. I mean, she was going like some days, like every week for 6 months. Excuse me, sorry, Barb. For 6 months at a time. She went through 2 clinical trials. She just kept going until basically she couldn't anymore. And some of the solace I take and everything is, of course, I would do anything to have her back. I'd do anything to have her back healthy. And the reason why I say that is because having her come back in the condition that she was is not something that I would ever want to do to her. You know, she wanted to fight and live. She wanted to beat it, and just to put her in that pain. But see, that's kind of what the thing for me is she doesn't have to deal with being in that pain anymore, of not feeling well, being sick all the time, and she never got a break. That's really what kind of stinks, is she never had a break from the cancer fight. So that was rough. But you know, her sister was diagnosed with cancer in 2014. She didn't even make it 3 months. My mom's up there in heaven with her, right? And you know, very, very, very thankful for that. That she's now pain-free, cancer-free. Her fight it helped the medical industry tremendously. That they are treating, and I that's kind of what I alluded to. They're treating other patients with her kind of cancer with how they treated her, because of what they've seen the success. So that's really cool. You know, like I said, you know, I miss her a lot. She was my mom. She'll always be my mom. But in the end, her fight was over. She was tired. She was in pain. And she was just ready. And, you know, there's a lot of things that actually happened during the lead up to that. Just as eerily weird, like the fact that we were concerned she wasn't going to make it, or she was going to pass away on my brother's anniversary, right? 7 minutes before, 11:53. Well, technically it was 11:26, but the actual like death certificate says 11:53. That's what time the coroner got there and pronounced her. I was there. I was able to say my final goodbyes, and me and my wife were able to take off the entire week of work. I used a little bit of PTO, but she got the whole week off, just to really get affairs in order. And I think part of it also is she didn't. She wanted to be cremated. She didn't. Want to have a funeral or a viewing or anything like that. That was her wishes, and you know, just didn't have to see. We saw a lot of people come over the house the last 10 days, and it was filled with laughter, and people were having a good time and remembering and everything. So, you know, oh God, this is going to be a problem here. Yeah, I'm definitely probably dying here. You know, so it's almost like it's sad, but it kind of wasn't sad at the same time. So I don't know. You know, I'm just. It's been rough, and I'm glad. Like today was my first day back to work, and you know, just trying to get back to the swing of things. And today was actually a little rough because I passed the Hillman Cancer Center today on my way to work, and I'd forgotten it. I passed them on my way to work, and it's like, oh crap, like, you know, that's something I pass like literally every day now, and it's somewhere I used to go to all the time. I'll do the draws from the giveaway here in a minute, assuming I don't die. I may not. As I said, I may not, I will not. It means I'm still like kind of up in the air if I'm going to make it or not. Go! Oh, you gotta be kidding me. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. Okay, so I have a total 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 from this giveaway. That's the SSD, and I have 3 from here. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do random.org. Now, part of shoot, this actually wasn't what I was looking for. Okay, so let's do the microphone first. Will this jumble them or pick one? Oh. Oh yeah, okay, so this is what I want to do. So, randomize. Okay, so now I'm going to drop this back in here. So, okay, we're good there. And then go back. Wait, what does it say? Don't. Oh, wants me to do this. No, I don't want to do that. Okay. Well, just let me do it the way I want. Okay, that works for me. But was it truly... Okay, yeah, it wasn't, okay. Let me do this one. Again. Oh, wait, nope. Ah. This random list server. There we go. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Random number generator. For the microphone. 3. Quang. I forget how you win. I think that's what it means. Perfect. Congratulations. No offense, I hope he doesn't win too. That would seem very much rigged. Now, for the second one. Rob Kilkenny. So, Rob and Mr. Quang win. You guys have won the respective giveaways. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tag you guys in, or not, maybe here, but I'm going to try to tag you guys in the comments that you won, and you have 72 hours, basically 3 days. So 1, 2. So if you don't get back to me by Friday the 5th, I'm going to say, if I don't see a response, either on here, YouTube, I'm going to give you guys an email to reach out to. I'm going to need your information regarding address so I can send it to you. I'll pay for shipping. I have a pretty good idea that I'm dead. Oh. Giveaways just now. Okay, so I'm going to respond via comments to you, so you do have to hopefully pay attention. And I'm going to give you guys an email address. It's going to be info@pcbudgetsolutions.com with your contact information. Now, that being said, I need you to get contact with me. So if you at least respond in the YouTube comment section, and we can start a dialogue. That being said, if I don't have your information within, we're going to say 7 days from now. So if we're going into the 9th, and like you've only said one thing and I don't have any of your information, shipping, I'm gonna probably re-choose. So keep that in mind. So yes, Quang Win and Rob Kilkenny, you guys are the respective winners. Congratulations. Let me go ahead and respond. Okay. Congratulations on, of course, Crackling Ice, I think, is messaging. I was kind of hoping he didn't win. I would have felt a little weird about that. Wait, am I able to see? They have to be subscribed. So give me a second here. I need to check that. So wait. How do I see who is subscribed to me on YouTube? There we go. No, I want to stuff. Okay. Where? Okay. I need to see who is subscribing to me. Well, ultimately, I can probably just see if they are subscribed to me. So, let me... Okay. Okay, nope, actually didn't tell me. Scroll down your channel page until you see, well, it's called subscribers. Okay, I'm gonna have to watch a video on this. Why can't I see a thing? Yeah, I know. go into YouTube beta and see if this helps. Why must she make this difficult?
And then, voila.
Community. Okay. I think that's under this part. Is that the old? I think that is. I want to go back to the old version. Classic area. There we go. Subscribers. Okay. Oh god, there has to be a better way to look at this. Okay, so
Subscribers. Right, and then this is going to show us all our subscribers. You can click over and look at their channel. And then it also shows how many people are subscribed to their channels. And this is great to do.
I need a better way of doing this. See, the new YouTube beta has to have something that would work for this. No. My wife keeps posting stuff. So, no, it's fine. I need to verify, obviously, you and the other person are subscribed. And I'd rather not do that. For future, I kind of want to, like, have a way of knowing how to do this. Without going through unneeded searching. Okay. We are going to find a new video for that. How old is this? That's a lot. And it's like you can't like search either, which really sucks. Yeah, I had a problem with him at one point. Can my wife stop posting stuff? Oh, okay, that's my brother. So I will go through and make sure they're both subscribed. What I'm gonna do, Quang Nguyen, if you could just in the email address that I'm gonna comment, just send me a screenshot of the showing you're subscribed. That'll make my life a lot easier because there looks to be not an easy way. So if you can just do it, that's fine. And it's not because I don't think you're subscribed. It was part of the roles, and if I don't do my due diligence, if somebody says that person wasn't subscribed, well, he was at the time. I can't control what he does afterwards, right? He or she. So, yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. So let me. Sorry you didn't win the SSD. I know that was also a really popular one as well. With concern the fact I actually didn't even advertise or anything like that. So. Okay. So I will respond. Okay. Congrats on winning. Please email Go ahead. You are must be in the R40 states. Yeah. Okay, and then the other guy was this guy. I'm actually kind of glad that he won. That one is interesting. Here's the thing, right? I gotta do an updated video of Ryzen. So here's actually a problem I've run into with Ryzen. They like to be able to put as much voltage and as much power, amps or wattage and volts, into the processors to get the fastest speed. What this has run into for me is 120 millimeter AIO coolers are not doing that great, especially in the rear, and even like a Hyper 212, when you have like a 2600X or 2700X, they're like boosting like really high and hitting like 70, 80 degrees during CPU intensive loads. Now, that's not a knock on AMD. They're saying, hey, like, we're going to let this thing run as fast as humanly possible so it gets good results. So, that's good. The downside is they run hotter. Now, from some testing, and well, maybe, I think maybe Navi, price can be as low as the Radeon 570. With the pricing, just makes it super competitive. So I got a 2600X and an Asron B450M Pro 4 motherboard. Now, not the best motherboard, but it supports addressable RGB. I got that for like $235. And if you throw in the price of what you said, RX 570, now you're at about $360. The rest of the system put together for another $200-300. You have a $500 to $600 game PC that'll game really well. Now, here's the thing. The leaks are saying that, here, let me edit this real quick. Okay. You have until April 5th. Winner will be selected. My apologies. I just want to make sure that I'm very specific about that. And I will also do this for yours as well, even though we're talking. Actually, let me delete this and do it again. Interesting. The leaks are basically saying that a 2600X is going to be 120. Is going to be a little bit cheaper. Not much. So let's look at the Ryzen leaks here. Ryzen. Okay. Maybe later. So this is not US dollars. Singapore. So roughly 1.5. So we can divide everything by 1.5. So I'll do the math for you. A Ryzen, you know what? We actually want a better table than this. This table kind of sucks. Let's go. I don't like Tom's. I'm gonna give WCCF Tech a look. Oh man, that doesn't give me what I need. Okay, we're gonna have to go into an older one. Here. No. I think they're even older. Here we go. Okay. Here we go. Here's what I'm looking at here. So a Ryzen 3 3300 is essentially going to be a Ryzen 5 2600. Very close. The base is a little bit lower. The boost is a little bit higher. Let me see what this is about. Okay. Um, so the 3300X is essentially going to be the 2600X, right? Now, the interesting thing, now some of this stuff I believe, and I'll explain why. So let's look at the 2600X. We're going to split screen here. So the 2600X is currently $199. Now, I essentially got it for $150 something. Base of 3.6, boost 4.2. Base 3.5, boost 4.3. Can definitely do that with a decently bin chip. Now my 2600X won't do an all-core overclock above 4.1. Now here's the difference though, is the TDP is 95, this is 65. Now going from 12 nanometer to 7, it's very possible to take the same architecture and get that much more power efficient. So they can take an existing platform on a smaller processing node and get this here at this price, right? Because they're already slashing prices. That's not outlandish. This, I don't know enough about. This is also not too far off. So let's look at the Ryzen 7 2700. Oh wow, that's more expensive. Let's go to Amazon here. Amazon.com. Oh wow, they went up price. So this was $220 last week. Okay, so 8 core, 16 thread. Fair enough. Does it talk about the base or no? It doesn't. Okay, so let's go back to Newegg for that. Okay, so 3.2 to 4.1, 3.6 to 4.4. This is a bit closer than to a 2700X. So basically, they're saying they can take a 2700X, base clock go down, the precision boost single core go to 4.4. They're also going to lower the TDP from 105 to 90 to 65. That'll be a little bit harder to do, and then drop the price $100. But this chip exists. You put this on a 7 nanometer platform, it can probably do this without any trouble. And honestly, get close to here. I think it's reasonable. This is essentially, if you take this, put on 7 nanometer, have better yields, you have this. Very simple. At 300 to the base, 500 to the max, you got it. So these already exist in the world to some degree. Zen 2, I don't think it's not a new architecture, it's a new node from my understanding. And the architecture is fine. Definitely game developers need to work on developing for Zen a little better. I actually have some test of an i5 9400F, and a really interesting conclusion. I was really expecting to get something I wasn't in favor of, and then I found out something completely different. So the problem is these. So these have been leaked time and time again. These don't exist. The other problem is this chip is difficult to understand. So this could exist in theory. This is pushing it. This already exists in Threadripper. This is pushing it. So the problem is that you're going up the line, increasing both core count and clock speed. And my problem is your TDP isn't going up a lot. So to answer your question, so I actually have a Ryzen 7 1700 right now. I'm actually throwing in a 40. So if you live close, it'd be nice because I can probably give you a steal on this build. It's a 1700, 16 gigs of RAM. I haven't done the case yet. I haven't decided. I have an 850 watt power supply. It's an EVGA BQ. Don't ask. I just found a good deal on it. 2 years left on the warranty, and I got it for real good. 500 gig SSD, 500 gig storage drive, an RX 580 or 480. I don't know what I'm going to charge for it yet, but it's probably not a whole heck of a lot more than you building it. So, but yeah. So, to be honest though, if she, depending on what she has now, does she really need a Ryzen 770? Now, they're cheap, though, especially living near Micro Center. They're dirt cheap. You can also potentially find them for like 130, 140 bucks on hardware swap, maybe less. If she's just doing video editing, go for it over Ryzen 5. The clock speed's not nearly as important as the raw power. That being said, a 2600X and a 1700 are going to perform kind of similar. You're going from a 3.2 boost on 7 cores to almost a 4 gigahertz boost on 6, or 8 cores versus 6. So, let's do some really quick math here. So if we have 3.2 and we have, I actually got 4 all-core on the 2600 with my wife. So this is 16 threads, this is 12 threads, equals this times. So the Ryzen 7 is still going to do better, but not much. So the thing I will say, though, this can easily go on stock cooling, no problem. This will push stock cooling to the limits with XFR. That's the problem that I've run into. So 1700 is probably a good choice. I think so. The thing is that you're not going to get this for as much as you can get a 1700 right now. That being said, it depends on how much you pay for the 1700. If this processor exists and comes out around this price, you're going to save a lot of money on a 1700 to make it worth it. Because let's just say the all-core frequency on this chip is 4 gigahertz. I think that's reasonable. That's 20%. Assuming things like IPCs and everything else stay the same. So I guess, though, that the theory would be, well, okay, so $180, 20%, $36. So if I pay less than $144, I got a good deal. I don't know. Even at 25, I don't know. It's tough. It really depends on the deal you get. And it depends on the speculation. We still don't know. And if you need to get this sooner rather than later, if you get a good deal on a 1700, I don't think you're going to kick yourself. Now, here's where I'm going to make a suggestion. If you already have a board, it is what it is. Even if it's an A320 board, I mean, 1700 should be fine, honestly, because it doesn't put out a lot of voltage. But if you don't have a board, invest yourself in a good board. Not an expensive board, but a good board. And I'll show you a good board to invest in. And I'll tell you for 2 reasons. So, if you can find this board at a better deal, it's a little pricey. You can get X470 boards at this price. One of the best VRM out there. It is only a 4+2. So unlike the ASRock boards that have 6, so I'm going to show you guys something here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and the +2's up here, I believe. The ASRock boards actually have 6, but there should be I think one, I want to say 2 high and 2 low, whereas the ASRock board, each choke is 1 high, 1 low, so it's really a 3+2, 3+3, something like that. I forget. I think there's 3 up here. This is a 4+2, but VRM cooling, very good. And I just updated my wife's BIOS because she has this. It's updated to support next gen. So I would feel comfortable putting up to maybe, I'm speculating, don't take it to the bank, a 12 core if they have one. I probably would not want to go, assuming these leaks are right, here. Here's about where I draw the line. I would start to feel a little uncomfortable here. I understand that you can put a 2700X in that board without too much trouble, but I don't know the logistics of power delivery and how high this will go and how much stress it's going to put on a VRM. I would feel somewhat confident saying if these are true, it should be good up to here, definitely. I have an X470 board. I'm going to probably go right here. I mean, I know it's only $180 more, but I don't know. I just think that's just a little too much. I think I can get better gaming performance and just slightly better multitask performance for Adobe and stuff like that here. That's kind of where I'm aiming at. I wanna mess with this a bit. So, but that is it for the day. Is there an IPC improvement from Ryzen 1 to Ryzen Plus? Will there be a big IPC improvement on Ryzen 2? Not really, and maybe. So the big boost in Ryzen came from clock speeds. Yes, you could overclock the chips, but they were hitting about 3.9 to 4 max. These chips, top of line chips, are hitting 4.4, 4.3. My 2700X only hits about 4.25, and my 2600X only hits about 4.1, and that's with 1.45 volts. Precision boost works way better on second gen. I can get a 4 gigahertz all-core overclock on my wife's 2600X without touching anything because the cooling's there. So that's where the biggest gain is. The IPCs were a little bit better because you went from 14 to 12 nanometer, so that did help a little bit, but it was only a few percentage. From what we've seen with the server market, is AMD said, now there's two parts of this, so don't cut out, that in some single-threaded tasks, they saw a 30% gain. But that was very specific tasks. I believe their statement is somewhere between 10 and 15 is what the rumor mill is. Because when you saw the gain in single-threaded performance, they actually notate in the slides, this is not directly related to real-time single-threaded performance, whatever. So I would expect 10 to 15. Honestly, here, I'll show you guys something. So sneak peek. I have a graph, and it's right here. So this is, and I haven't done the audio for it yet. So this is the 9400F, the 2600X, and the 2600. Here's something interesting. So ignoring this for a second, all these numbers. Single core on the 9400F, which boosts to 4.1, 4.2, 422. Single core on these chips were floating between, I actually got as low as 405 and as high as 415, and I got 421, but 418 was like a consistent range I was getting. So more or less, these guys are tied. Percentage is so close, it's not even worth bringing it up. However, okay, so if you do the math, 4 divided by 422. So let's, okay, not even 1%, 0.0 or 0.95% faster. That's, wait, actually, no, it's even less than that. 0.01. Where's it? 4 divided by 422. There we go. 0.95%. That's 91% better in single threaded. However, in games like GTA 5, there was a 7 to 8% increase. Rise of the Tomb Raider, there was a 4 to 8% increase. Ghost Recon Wildlands just snuck out a win. It wasn't anything groundbreaking. Oh, these numbers are backwards. Darn it. I was doing a lot of switching around. For Honor was tied. The Division AMD won. That's just, it is what it is. So, and World of Warcraft, which is another one. Intel won by 9%, 6% respectively. But why? So, this game is heavily single-threaded. If it's won by 1%, why did it win by 6 to 9%? Well, here's the reason. For the longest time, AMD was not competitive with CPUs. From 2011 on, up until Ryzen 2017, they were shit. FX is garbage. I actually talked a guy out of buying a computer for one person to buy a computer for another person. I had no stake in the game just because I didn't want him to buy an FX system. So, Ah, okay. Well, I was just sending a message. So they weren't they're optimized for Intel very hard. So I don't know CPU architecture that well. What I will tell you is if you take both chips, they process data differently, and games are more so designed with the way Intel processes the data for the most part. Um, and it's not saying they cater to the Intel, they're Intel lovers. It's honestly because it's kind of like AMD versus NVIDIA. AMD and NVIDIA will both get with game developers, and there will be an AMD optimized game versus NVIDIA, vice versa. The other cards don't generally do horrible, but when you have cards like the 1060 and the 580, they normally trade blows. They'll do better in games that are more optimized for them. Most of the games are optimized towards Intel's general architecture, which the way it processes information, the microcode, and everything really doesn't change vastly. It has to do with the way the pipelines work with fetching data and error correction, all that stuff. Way outside my pay grade. But games are catching up with Ryzen, but they're not there yet. So Ryzen's optimized or works a little bit differently, I presume. And game developers are starting to understand that. Like the Division 2 is actually, they worked with AMD and their Radeon department. And that's why they won, because it's more optimized for them. But we're at the point where we're starting to see that, and like CPUs, like the 2600X and 9400F are both hitting around, well, the 9400F was hitting like 3.7 all core, but gaming is hitting like 3940. Same thing with the 2600X. And they're pretty close to each other. That's kind of where we're at. Synthetics, Blender got destroyed, multi-core got destroyed. So, I mean, it got destroyed. Intel got destroyed so bad in synthetics and heavy workloads that it actually felt 89% performance versus 98, 96 respectively. So, just food for thought on that one. So, my conclusion here for anybody that is interested is I bought the 9400F with the understanding that this chip priced $160 was going to be a very compelling offer from Intel for gaming. That the single threaded performance should be approximately 5 to 8% better, which means if you do the math, if 418 times 1.08, oops, equals, delete. No, I don't want a percentage. Should have been 451. But it was 422. And I've kind of harped on Intel a lot. I've been told I love Ryzen too much and I hate Intel. If I hated Intel, I wouldn't be selling a computer with an Intel chip in it, right? That being said, the chip's fine. Would I recommend it? Probably. It definitely runs about 10 degrees Celsius cooler than the Ryzen chip across the board. The chip's running in the upper 60s, whereas the Ryzen chip and synthetic workloads was approaching 80, so it was like 10, 12 degrees. I got your message.
I was going to play.
Okay. But, you know, I spent essentially the same amount on both. My camera's not on, by the way.
Huh?
My camera's not on. I spent the same amount on both chips. And I would personally take the Ryzen chip any day of the week because the SMT gave it more than a 20% boost in raw performance versus the Intel chip that doesn't have hyper-threading. Having the ability to overclock, having better features on the motherboards. Although the motherboard I got for the Intel was pretty good. It was $80. It was ASRock B365, yes, 365M Phantom Gaming 4. Good features, liked it a lot. It's good. Intel still sells better. That's why I decided to move some stuff around and go with that. But I just, until you hit like 8600K, I can't bring Intel into the discussion. I struggle with that. And the reason being is AMD is so close in game performance at this point at the same clock speed that the lack of core performance or multi-core performance, if you're somebody such as Mr. Wynn over here, where Cisco does video editing, I wouldn't video it. I know you get quick. Well, you actually don't get quick sync with this because I have integrated graphics. So until you're at the point where you have a chip that's going to exceed 4.2 gigahertz on Intel, they're not offering, in my opinion, compelling value. I was excited because the i5 8400 was like $190, $200, and it was just way higher priced than Ryzen, and it just was a really bad chip. This chip being $160 made it compelling, but I could only say I can recommend the i5 9400F if you say, I want an Intel chip and that's what fits your budget. It's a good chip, but if you say, Steve, I want the best performing system, and we look to spend about $150, $160 on a processor, I'm not going to go with the Ryzen chip or with the Intel chip, unless what you do is completely single thread like StarCraft, Warcraft. You're not going to do anything with multitasking like using Blender or Adobe or anything like that, and you're strictly just gaming, and you're doing 1080p, and you're definitely pushing for 100 FPS plus, and you have a high refresh rate monitor and like a RX 590 or GTX 1660 to go with it. 1660 is actually what I used on all these. I did, mostly high settings. I try to tweak things so we get some CPU. I try to make it real world. So as you guys know, I don't do the in theory game. I just did the air quotes. I do what people really do. So these benchmarks are run with like a YouTube video. It's just a Halo 3 soundtrack playing in the background. I'm running a couple different programs, a couple tabs open. It's always the same though. It's always the same stuff. I don't change it. Multiple monitors. I have 2 monitors that I work with. So I try to set up, but then I also tweak the settings. I don't run the benchmarks before I tweak the settings because I don't want anybody to say, well, you tweaked it in favor of one. No, I don't play that game. So what I do is I look at some things like motion blur. Motion blur is a pretty big hit on a lot of graphical performance. Turn that shit off. Just not interested in that. Things like WoW, though, I just set the level 8. I didn't make any additional changes. But sometimes I will. If I'm getting testing results coming back and it's like everything's like really similar and there should be some difference, I'll make some changes to try to see if I can get some separation between things that should perform differently. But usually then I do a lot of different testing. Try this thing, try that thing, do some research, see how it affects it. I try to avoid that because, I kind of like to go in this with an idea and not change it because I really don't want me to start, I've really expected this to perform this way, so I'm going to tweak it until I kind of get the results that I like. It's not something that I necessarily would do, but I don't want to just end up falling into that trap because I honestly value the fact that everybody takes my word for me being honest. Not right, but honest. So hopefully, Mr. Wynn, definitely reach out to me, info@pcbudgetsolutions.com. Give me that screenshot, then go ahead and, actually, these numbers I'm not sure are correct. I'll double check. Give me the screenshot, give me your address. I'll get the microphone sent out to you. Thank you, everybody who did enter the giveaways. I had a good time. I'm glad I can give back to everybody. As always, this is Steve from PC Budget Solutions. If you guys do comment about thoughts and prayers, I do appreciate you guys thinking about me and my family this time. It's very much appreciated. And as always, I will see all of you people later on down the road.